Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alabama Reloader here. So coming to you today, and I just wanted to bring you an update, or I guess a results video of some just very small basic sample size testing that I did for a bullet that I haven't really messed around with in the past, and that's the Sierra GameChanger. These came out, I guess, a handful of years ago now. They've been out for quite a while, but this is essentially, the way you need to think about this, this is pretty much Sierra's answer to kind of like a Nosler ballistic tip, a Hornady ELDX, right? A polymer tipped hunting bullet. This is pretty much their solution to that market, right? Of course, Sierra, very well known for their hunting bullets. They've been making really great hunting bullets for a long time, especially the Game King lineup. Whether you go with their hollow point version or just the lead, the exposed lead tip version, either one of those, both of those options have been putting animals on the ground for a really long time. But they decided to come out with the polymer tip version. It's kind of all the rage, if you will. So I hadn't really played around with those too much, but I ended up picking up a box. I had a Cabela's gift card, decided to go spend it, and that's what I got with it. I ended up picking up a box. These are the 130 grain tipped Game King. So 130 grain Sierra GameChanger. Got a couple of powders that I know would work really, really well in 6.5 Creedmoor. That's Vihtavuori N555 or triple nickel or 555 or whatever, right? H4350. Those two powders, if you can find them, and you load 6.5 Creedmoor, just pick them up and you won't have any issues. Whatever you shoot through it, or whatever bullets you're shooting, for the most part, these two powders should do really, really well in the Creedmoor. So this is the target. The point of aim was actually down here. I cut it off for an entirely separate video on a separate cartridge. I had a lot of stuff going on this massive piece of cardboard, so I was trying to cut everything down. And I wanted to cut this down to where it's just the results for the Creedmoor. These three are with H4350. These three groups are N555. So just kind of the bird's eye view here. It looks like N555 shot just a little bit better, which it did. Just, there we go. Let's go ahead and end the suspense. It did actually shoot just a little bit better, but the velocity, you can definitely push these bullets a little bit faster with H4350. You get a little bit more velocity using that powder within the acceptable charge weight range that's listed in the Sierra load data. So I actually used two different load sources for this information. For the H4350 data, I went to the Sierra app, which thankfully that app is now available on the in the App Store again. It's an app that was available a long time ago, and I had it on my phone and was able to use it, and then all of a sudden it went away. So I don't know what that was all about. I've heard that it was taken down by the App Store or some issue that was going on. But basically it got taken down, which I'll be honest with you, it just kind of sucked, right? Because that Sierra app has a lot of really, really good information and a lot of really good load data, obviously for their bullets, but just in general, a lot of really good information that you can reference. So if you haven't downloaded that again, I highly recommend you go download that app. It's back available now, MAGA. So the H4350 data I pulled from that app, and they show a max charge of 44.1 grains with H4350. And then I went over to the Vihtavuori app, also another good app, and they do have load data with this powder and this bullet. They actually have quite a bit of load data using this bullet, so that's pretty cool. But they actually go up to 43.1, so 1 grain less in terms of the max charge than H4350. They show that with N555. So what I ended up loading to, I did the same charge weight for both powders. I just settled on 41.5, 42.5, and 43.5. Now, that is 0.4 of a grain over the Vihtavuori published max load, but I felt fairly comfortable / confident loading 4/10 over the max. With all the history that I have with this cartridge, I felt comfortable doing that. Not saying that you should at all ever exceed max charge, but I felt perfectly comfortable doing that. So as you can see, I've already documented, written down, these are the velocities that I got. The overall length was 2.810. That's the Sierra recommended overall length. That does vary by 0.003 versus what the Vihtavuori data has listed. They showed 2.807 inches, which is just kind of an interesting overall length. And like I said, the Sierra shows a tested overall length of 2.810. So that's what they recommend you load the cartridge to. No idea what the jump numbers are on this in terms of distance to lands. I didn't really care to take that measurement. I know we have plenty of room to work with in the Savage Model 12, so I'm not really concerned about that. But you can see here, limited sample size, so take all this velocity information with a grain of salt, but definitely not too bad on the velocity side of the house. Once we pushed it up near the max charge with H4350, we got up to 2851. SD of 5.3, 10.5 on the extreme spread, but that was the worst group of the day that we tested, or the worst group of the day that we shot. So I don't know, you still have a little bit of room to run up. I believe Sierra shows around the 43.5 grain or 43.8, somewhere in that range. It starts to really show the way they kind of have it on the app. It's a little bit of like a slide rule type action that you have on the app, where you just slide. There's a slider on the bottom of the app, and you literally just slide this little button across the app, and you notice the charge weights increasing in the data above. And what you're doing is you're sliding the velocity scale. Basically, you're maxing out the velocity scale, and what that shows you is what charge weight, what powder and what charge weight that would take to hit that velocity, right? Well, as you go along, they actually start to kind of warn you, hey, you're starting to get into a max load, you're starting to get into a compressed load, you're starting to get into higher pressures, right? It'll indicate that by like a couple of different asterisk marks by the charge weight, so it'll notate that. And I think somewhere around that 43.5 grain charge is where that starts to happen with this bullet on their app. So, but still, 2851, not bad at all for a 130 grain bullet in the Creedmoor. Probably could go maybe a little bit higher. I would be fine going all the way to that 44.1 max that they show listed. Now they did show that was 2870 was the max velocity that they showed in the app with that 44.1 grain charge. So you can see we're 0.6 below that, and we're approaching that already. So we're probably somewhere near the ceiling. I'm not really going to explore that any higher. I don't really feel the need to. And then on N555, so what they show with 43.1 grains is 2818 on the velocity that they have listed. So you can see we came in quite a bit under that. A little bit interesting there. We were 0.4 over, but quite a bit under on the velocity. But really good performance just in general. The velocity side of the house, at 42.5 and 43.5, you see standard deviation 4 and 4.2, 8.7 extreme spread, and then extreme spread of 10. And just in general, like I said, it did shoot better overall. Both had two groups under an inch. The N555 had two groups pretty comfortably under an inch, and of course you had that one that was a 1/2 inch, that very first one that I shot with it. So yeah, really good stuff. That's it. I'm just trying to keep this video under 10 minutes because it's pretty straightforward and simple stuff. The Creedmoor just continues to be an excellent choice, in my opinion. I can't recommend it enough in terms of somebody wanting to go out and say, hey, I want to get into hunting, or I want to go buy a rifle and go whitetail deer hunting or something along those lines. And 6.5 Creedmoor has kind of been my #1 choice for quite a while now. But yeah, just another good bullet, another good hunting option, a couple of really good powders. I was using Lapua brass. At the end of the day, just use great components, and everything pretty much is straightforward and easy. So that's it. That's where we're gonna leave it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll catch you next time. Y'all have a good one.